Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I know it's been a while, but we are just starting 2025 and I am doing some things to get back into crafting and sharing what I'm doing with you. 2024 was a very rough year for me and it kind of threw me off balance with some things. My daughter Anne had surgery on both her eye and her ear last year. I lost my mother. There were just a lot of things that kind of threw me off, and so I appreciate those of you who have stuck with me, and I'm back into business and trying to put out some content that you will enjoy and that some things that I can share with you. So I am standing in what you know is my current craft room. So we moved to this house 4 years ago, and I have had now 3 different craft spaces. And so I have realized that there are some things that work in a craft room and some that don't. And so I'm going to share with you some things to consider when you are thinking about your craft space. And so one of the first things is light. So my current craft space is in the basement, and the light is not very good. And if you've watched very many of my videos, you've seen my issues with lighting, and I've struggled a little bit with that and tried all kinds of things, different lights, different lamps and things, and I just haven't been able to get really good light down here. And so that's a consideration, is what is the light like? The second thing is the basement is cold. My kids like to sleep pretty cool, and this basement stays pretty cool all year long, and that's a great thing in the summer because then we want to come down here. But for most of the year I live in a climate that's cold at least 6 months of the year, and usually a little longer, and so it's cold down here and I get cold crafting. So that's another thing to consider. And a third thing about just the space you choose is proximity to family. It's hard for me to come downstairs and do things when the rest of the family is upstairs having fun. And so I want to be near them. So hold on, because in just a minute, we're going to go upstairs and I'm going to show you what my new craft space is going to be and the transition that we're making. And it's a disaster. So just wait till you see it. Okay, so 3 things to consider is light, temperature, and proximity to family. So another thing, of course, is space. That's probably the biggest issue with the craft room. Our house has really good space. We've got, rooms here and there, and it's great. And this is a big room that I'm in, but and I have space for everything, but I need things contained. So one of the problems is I have some dies down here. I've got my desk down here, but I run things up and down the stairs all the time. Some of my things are in that other room when I first set up my craft room, and you can actually see the video about that craft space that I created. I'll link that below, and you can watch that first iteration of my craft room. And then, so I'm always moving things around. I would like to get all of my craft things upstairs. I'm going to leave sewing down here. I've shown you my sewing space, all of my fabric, how I store that. I have my sewing machine here, and I've got a great desk right here. I can just put out my sewing machine and do my sewing down here, and that's fine. And so I'm going to leave the sewing things here for now, but the craft things, I'm moving up. Another consideration about your crafting space is internet access. So I have my Cricut here, and whenever I use my Cricut, I bring my laptop down, hook it up to my Cricut so I can get into design space and run my Cricut. The internet down here runs much more slowly than upstairs. So when I'm cutting something on my Cricut, it cuts really slowly. And I keep thinking I've done something wrong, but no, it's just running slowly. And then over Christmas, my daughter-in-law took the Cricut upstairs, it ran so well. And so I'd like to get that upstairs. So consider your access to internet in your crafting space if you're using something like that that needs to be connected to internet. So the last thing that ought to be considered when you're thinking about where to put your craft space, of course, is just flat out, can the things you have for crafting fit into that space? Now, if you have very little space, I did a video last year about using a good sturdy tray to create a craft area that you can then move around, and that actually worked great for the things Ann and I were doing at the kitchen counter. No matter how much space you do have, you can create an area for crafting. So there are 5 things that you can consider when you are thinking about where to put your craft space. And so let's go upstairs and I'll show you where we're headed. So Ann has decided to switch to the room next door. So here we are in her room and it's a disaster. So we're halfway through moving her to the other room. We have all of her stuff from Christmas, and her brothers and sisters were very generous. So it's going to be a lot of clear out and clean out. So that means this room is going to become my new craft room. Well, our new craft room, because Ann likes to craft too. Yeah. So one of the big things about this, it's warm. It has this beautiful big window where we can get a lot of natural light. Yep. This isn't a huge room. I measured it and it's about 10 by 12. So it's not a huge room, but it's certainly a great space for a craft room. Okay, so we've cleaned out Ann's room to get it ready to be the craft room and moved everything that she needs into her new room. This is everything that needs to go downstairs into the new guest room and Jet's room. And we have a box down the hall of Goodwill. And so what I did is I just collected Goodwill here, downstairs here, so that I didn't just have to keep running up and down while I was trying to clean. And so let's get all of this downstairs. And then coming up in a future video, I will show you the transformation of this bedroom and all of this space. You'll see the transformation into our wonderful craft space. And so consider those 5 things. I hope that helps, and we'll see you next time.